Yo, what's going on, boys? Dan here from DNR Sports. Today, we're going to be looking at the Baltimore Ravens depth chart and seeing how they're looking going into next year. Starting off with the quarterback position, as usual, we got Lamar Jackson and McSorley. Obviously, Trace doesn't fucking matter at all, but Lamar. Let's go take a look at the Lamar stats. When I was checking out the in-depth breakdown of Lamar here, we see his underdog ADP is 54.5. That is fourth quarterback overall off the draft boards for best ball leagues. If you guys don't know what underdog is, it's uh it's it's a website that hosts best ball leagues, and best ball leagues are pretty much like you just draft the teams and the computer puts the best team in automatically every single week. So you don't have to do any waiver or pickups or anything. It's you draft one team for the rest of the season, and so you got to kind of keep in mind of injury-prone players and stuff like that. But it's pretty fun. But anyways, he's the fourth quarterback overall off the draft boards. When you look at his stats, it's pretty interesting to see the stat game script. This basically means that the Ravens are constantly playing from ahead. They're number one overall in this. They're always ahead, which means last year, when we take a look at his stats from last year, right? This is basically what he did while being ahead every single game. And we know from a fantasy perspective, you want your quarterback to be playing from behind in general, for basically everybody except Lamar and maybe Cam Newton. But even them, you still want them to be playing from behind. It's not like when they're ahead, they're just going to run Lamar Jackson 20 times. Like, that's just not going to happen. They're going to run it with their running backs. They need they need to be playing from at least a middle ground or behind to be, gaining fantasy points. So obviously being number one in this category is not good. He had 2,700 passing yards last year. That was 22nd. That's not great. It's actually pretty bad. 26 TDs, tied for 12th. That's not bad. 9 interceptions, tied for 16th. If we look at this compared to last year, it's not very different at all, actually. He threw about 25-ish more times in 2019 than he did in 2020, but he was just way more efficient. He had almost 400 more yards. The average reception was about 0.5 more yards. His touchdowns was 10 more. Interceptions, 3 less. He didn't have any long deep balls in 2020, which is interesting. He got sacked about the same amount, 6 more times in 2020. But his passer rating was 113.3 in 2019, while it was 99.3 in 2020. Both of these are actually very, very good. His rookie season, he was 84.5, so obviously he's making progressions. I did believe, like going into last year, anyone who's ever listened to me knows that I thought he was very overvalued. I thought Pat Mahomes was like clearly better. But seeing him at the number 4 spot this year in drafts, I don't mind it. He's behind here. Let's go take a look at it. He's behind Pat Mahomes, Josh Allen, Kyler Murray, and he's like right there with Dak Prescott. I think this is pretty fine, honestly. I think he is in that top 5 group just because that rushing upside. Let's take a look at his rushing stats. They're pretty insane. Obviously, he's number 1 in carries per game, red zone carries. Like, just look at this. Look at this. Rushing yards per game. Number 2, rushing yards. Number 1, like, this guy's a beast, obviously, on the ground. We all know this. Where was the stat? Oh, yeah, the stat that I want to talk about, the catchable pass rate. This is what still worries me about if they do tend to play from behind this year. 75.8% catchable pass rate, number 27th overall out of quarterbacks. That sucks. He's still having some accuracy issues, it looks like. And just by looking at the stats, you can kind of see that this team wants to obviously run first, but they want to hit you with the deep ball. So one thing we like to talk about when we talk about Lamar is how his receivers have not been good. That is true from a stat perspective, but I'm actually a little concerned looking at this receiver target separation, average target separation for all running backs, wide receivers, and running back receiving passes beyond the line of scrimmage. It's 1.72 yards of separation, which is 8th overall in the league. That's not bad. That's not bad at all. That's really good, actually. So his receivers are open. It's just we know his accuracy is the issue. So if he can have that type of Josh Allen, whatever happened in the mechanics of Josh Allen that changed to make him, a better passer, if he can have some type of resurgence like that, we have a seriously deadly quarterback on our hands. I do think, when going back here, looking at this defense, Derek Wolf's good, Brandon Williams good. I mean, Derek Wolf's old as hell now, but Brandon Williams good, Calais Campbell old but good. Patrick Queen, beast, absolute beast. It's gonna be his second year. Marlon Humphrey's one of the probably top 5 corner of the game. Um, Marcus Peters, as much as I hate him, like I guess he's decent at what he does. He's found a good fit in the Ravens defense. Um, Obviously he's a playmaker. He's going for interceptions. He's not going for lockdown corner status. But this defense it's obviously above average, but I wouldn't say it's insane. So I don't think last year's number one in game script, that play from behind factor never really happened with them. I think it's going to change. I think it's going to be maybe they'll be like eighth in that category or sixth in that category. I think they'll still be playing from ahead most of the time, but not as from a crazy every single game standpoint. Looking at their running backs, this is where everyone is like in love with J.K. Dobbins from last year. You know what's really interesting about this whole running back situation? Let's take a look at J.K. Dobbins. So 134 attempts, 800 yards, 9 touchdowns, 6 average yards per carry. That is obviously ridiculous. The yards per carry is third overall. TDs 9th or 11th overall. Yards 18th overall. Attempts 35th overall. So I'm going to be honest. It doesn't matter who is in the Ravens running back room. They all look very good in this offense. It's kind of like the 49ers. If you look at all the yards per carry leaders, it's always the 49ers or the Ravens every single year. Just because of the way that their system is built and run, it's just very nice. We take a look at Gus Edwards. So here's some interesting stats on Gus Edwards. You ready for this? I found these on Twitter, and I actually I can't believe how insane these are. So one of 2 players in NFL history have rushed for 700 yards and 5 yards per carry in their first 3 seasons. He's one of them. I think the other ones are Nick Chubb, and I forget the third. It might be. I think it's not Jonathan Taylor. Jonathan Taylor's on pace for it, but it's not him. Which is insane. One of 3 players have averaged 2.6 yak each of the first 3 sevens. Oh my god, I can't even speak. Each of the first 3 seasons. Gus is on there. Had the highest percentage of runs for first downs and touchdowns in the NFL. Gus from last year. And then 5.1 yards per carry in games with 20 plus carries. That's insane. 20 plus carries with over 5.1 yards per carry. That's like Derrick Henry and Nick Chubb type numbers right there. The other screenshot I had was these are the stats actually from last year for J.K. Dobbins and Gus Edwards. J.K. Dobbins 13.1 touches, Gus Edwards 12 touches. This is per game. Yards per game, J.K. 71, Gus 64.9. Touchdowns per game, 0.6 for both of them, and then PPR points, or half point PPR points per game, 11.1 for J.K. Gus had 10.4. They're like neck and neck, and their current best ball ADP: Gus Edwards, pick 24, RB 15. Sorry, that's J.K. Dobbins, pick 24, RB 15. Gus Edwards, pick 131, RB 44. Like, what? This isn't even. They're not even close on where they're being drafted, and their stats are nearly identical. The last screenshot I had was 2020 stats after Baltimore phased out Mark Ingram. J.K. Dobbins, 53% snap share, 12.1 rush attempts per game, 22 red zone carries. Gus Edwards, 32% snap share, 9.7 rush attempts per game, and 23 red zone carries. So Gus got a little less opportunity overall, but had one more red zone carry. So for all y'all going nuts on the J.K. Dobbins train, I get like he has that ability, kind of like that Raheem Mostert. He's not as fast as Raheem Mostert. He's not the same athlete, but he's got that ability to kind of to work well in this offense, take every run like 10 to 15 yards downfield. I don't think he has the breakaway speed at all that Raheem does, but I think him and Gus are very similar, and people don't want to admit it. People will just want to be like, "Oh, Gus, he's never been the true alpha there, so he's going to get phased out." How many times do we do that every single year? We're like, "Oh, this guy's going to get phased out." Nope, he's the thorn in the side the entire year. I need people to pump the brakes. He's going like let's go look at Underdog right now. The list of running backs that he is going ahead of. So J.K. I'd take Chris Carson over him probably. Miles Sanders is arguable. David Montgomery I would take over him. Other than that, Myles Gaskin's close, but I would still take J.K. But this is a Baltimore running back, guys. Like, remember when Mark Ingram was getting drafted highly? I believe it was last year and the year before. Like, yes, it's nice to be a running back on Baltimore, but we know it's a committee. We know it's a committee. We can't get wrapped up in it. Obviously, they're going to run efficiently, but it's a committee. So next up, actually, let's just check this out real quick. The snap shares. So J.K. looked about to be beginning of the season like 40% ish. End of the season, you got to like 40 to 60 in between there. Gus was right with him. I mean, he had some games where it was only about 20, but had some games where it was about 50. So he's clearly still there. JK total of 456 snaps, Gus 347 with almost the same production. Crazy. All right, back to Baltimore. So they have Marquise Brown. Obviously, Marquise did not have a good season last year. Receptions 58th, tied for 54th. That's not good at all. Yards 769, 42nd overall. Not good. Touchdowns 8, tied for 15th. That's actually quite good. Once again, just based off efficiency, really, this whole offense. But maybe with Sammy Watkins and Rashod Bateman coming here, that opens up some, more space for him to work because like he's been the only guy there with Mark Andrews the whole time. 13.3 average reception, their depth of reception. That's 39th overall. That's not bad. Um, it doesn't really matter too much. That's that. But looking at it, Sammy Watkins, man, what happened? He was all right his first year. Not gonna lie, he was pretty good. But after that, what the hell happened? I know he didn't play all these games last year, but these stats are terrible. 37 receptions, 400 yards, 2 touchdowns, 11.4 yards per reception. That's just he's dust, man. I feel like he's gonna just have like a Willie Snead type role in this offense. I don't see him being a stud. I can't overreact to that like a lot of people are. I think Rashod Bateman is interesting. The rookie first round pick 27th overall from Baltimore. Let's go take a look at his profile on Player Profiler. I love Player Profile, guys. You guys need to really check this out. So these are his metrics for how much of a just beast he is, kind of. We see he had a 3-star recruiting rating. That's nothing special. His pro day 40-yard dash was 4.48. That's a pro day, so let's say like 4.55 probably in a real time combine race, which is pretty slow for a receiver. 4.55, like, you could work with it, but it's not fast or anything. Speed score 47th percentile, burst score 58th percentile, agility score 42nd percentile, catch rate is 56th percentile. He's not an athletic freak. That's not where he shines. He's 6 foot, 190 pounds. Yeah, like nothing special. His college stats. So looking at his receiving yards, 2020, he only played 5 games, so we can't really look at that. I'm not even going to bother pasting that out, but his 2019 season was actually pretty good when he was 20. He played in 13 games, 60 receptions, 1,219 yards, almost a 30% target share every single year when he played. That's very good. Catch rate 64.5. That's all right. That's pretty decent percent wise. And then 11 receiving touchdowns. That's good. That's solid stats. He seems like a polished enough route runner, but not, he's not the stud on that offense. They want Marquise Brown to be the deep ball stud, Sammy Watkins to be whatever the fuck he is now. I can't even explain that, but just Rashod to be like a nice safety blanket for Lamar, to complement Mark Andrews, right? Rashad's not really going anywhere in ADP, really. 128.4. I'm not going to even look at what number that is for receivers. I don't care. Like, I wouldn't draft him. I don't want any pieces of this offense besides Andrews and maybe one of the running backs, probably Gus, just because the disparity in ADP if JK goes down. Gus has probably most of the backfield, I'm sure. Let's see right now. I'm sure they'll find a way. Yeah, Justice Hill will probably get some playtime if JK goes down. And then Mark Andrews obviously had a down year last year. Compared to the year before, we all expected big things, but you got to look at it, guys. Remember, I just said 2019 was uber efficient for the whole Ravens offense, and it mainly flowed through Mark Andrews. This last year was not the same year for Mark Andrews. He did not have the insane like targets per game, like touchdowns per target. It was not the same at all. He had 7 touchdowns, which is tied for 22nd. Not bad at all. 700 yards, 54th. This, by the way, is like including receivers. So 54th, not bad at all. That's actually, for tight end, that's solid. 58 receptions, pretty good. 12.1 average depth of reception. That's actually pretty high for a tight end, I'm not going to lie. We look at his underdog ADP, 5th overall. That's where I'd have him too. Maybe even 4th. I think 4th. I'd take him over Pitts just because, he's a proven commodity. I think this year will be a little better game script wise, as I've been saying this whole video. Their defense isn't as strong. Their offense looks to be more strong. I could see them playing from behind and getting some real points. And I could see in the touchdown category some real positive regression. 7 for a guy like Andrews in that type of efficient system. I think he could get 10. So yards probably about the same, probably like 750, 800 upside. He's not a Darren Waller or a George Kittle or a Travis Kelce. Like he's not going to break 1,000 yards. I don't think. I think he's more of a touchdown grabber, kind of like Austin Hooper, but just like better. Um, Now we look at the last piece of this offense, the O-line. They got Ronnie Staley back. That's going to be huge. I just looked at reports today. He's expected to be back by the first game. Let's take that with a grain of salt. We all know people are very optimistic about injuries. It is still, by the recording of this video, June 14th. We don't know shit. Everyone says they're going to be back by week 1, but then, as someone who's been injured practically the whole freaking life in every sport I play, like injuries take longer than you always expect. This was a serious injury he had, so we're gonna have to wait and see what happens. Ben Cleveland, the rookie that they just drafted in the 3rd round, he's huge. Look at this. Look at this. He's 6'6", 335. This man is massive. He's got to prove himself. I don't have too much on him. I was looking at the PFF offensive line grading coming into 2021. Baltimore, they had it 12, as you see right here. They were talking about how Ronnie Staley is just an absolute beast in pass protection. That's going to help Lamar a ton. He missed most of last year. So that also, when we're factoring in why as a passer Lamar wasn't as efficient, it's probably because Ronnie Staley was down. I mean, like, we can't really deny that. Orlando Brown is gone, the right tackle. They got Alejandro Villanueva, a longtime stud on the Pittsburgh Steelers. We just have to see how he fits in chemistry wise to the system. They got Kevin Zeitler from the Giants, who, yes, did just come off his worst season ever, but that was with the Giants, and he played with Cincy before that. 2 pretty shit teams. You can't really, yes, you can be like, oh my god, why can't I forget it? Why am I forgetting his name? Joe Thomas. Why was I forgetting his name? You could be like Joe Thomas and be the lone stud of a shit team, but like, who gives a shit? So he was all right on those bad teams, but he's coming into a actual decent O-line, so I think he'll fit in pretty nicely. We see he graded between 73 and 89 in every single season since 2012, except for last year, which is, according to PFF, like very high. Like 90 is like ridiculous. 80 is like very solid. He's heading into his 10th season. He's just a consistent player. He's an excellent pass protector, decent run blocker, as we see. So basically, when looking at this O-line as a whole, we got great exterior parts, half a good interior part, and then the center's middle of the road, slightly above average. So overall, this O-line, I kind of agree with PFF here. They should be about 12th overall. So my overall conclusion from a team perspective is they will most likely be going around 11-6. That division is extremely hard. They have a very tough schedule this year too. They're playing my Packers division. Strength of schedule, those 2 divisions have it the worst because they play each other and they also have some other tough games. I think they're going to continue to be a run-first offense, but I do think that they're going to be playing from behind definitely more than they have been in previous years. So Lamar will have to come out of his shell. The receivers, and mainly in my opinion, Mark Andrews, will have to really support him. The running backs will continue to be efficient. We just have to see how that O-line melds together. And the defense should be about slightly above average, in my opinion. Now, from fantasy perspective, Lamar, I do agree he should be about 4th overall. The running backs, I don't agree at all with that disparity. Gus Edwards should be much higher, much closer to JK. We all like to fantasize about the rookie or second-year running back coming onto the scene and just blowing it up. We saw last year, yes, during the end of the last year, he started to become a better running back, but they never phased out Gus. They just never phased him out. We talk about the receivers. I wouldn't draft any of them personally. Maybe Holloway Brown, but I don't even think so, to be honest. There's just better situations out there. I don't want to be a part of a team that wants to run the ball, right? So if they achieve their goal by getting ahead, they're just going to run the ball, and I do not want receivers from that. I don't think Lamar is built to be a come-from-behind quarterback, so I don't really want to be with those receivers. But I do think Mark Andrews will be very efficient with his touchdowns again this year, and the O-line seems to be improved. So if I'm taking anyone from this team for fantasy, it's probably Gus and Mark Andrews. All right, guys, that is the Baltimore Ravens review. If you did like it, hit the like button, leave a comment, let me know what team you want to do next. I'm enjoying these team reviews because I'm a Packers fan, so I don't know like everything in the league. Obviously, I play a lot of fantasy and watch like all the red zone and shit, so like I have a pretty good idea of everything. But if you guys could let me know in parts I missed, any draft picks or whatever additions that you saw that you think make a difference, please let me know in the comments. Subscribe if you're new around here. We're at 113, doing great in the subscription category. I'm freaking loving it, boys. Turn post noties on so you guys can see all our latest videos, and I'll see you in the next team review. Goodbye.
I can never ever find the right words, and there's no way this is real life. There's no telling you're the right girl, so I can only say that it feels right.